Thank you, Richard and Rebecca, for this opportunity to speak with you. I know Rafael Alunan. I am number one fan, and I voted for him when he ran for the Senate. Big loss to the country, but we could try again. He's one of the distinguished leaders of this country whose integrity remains untarnished for the past 30 or 40 years. And I also like the speech of Stephen. I think he gave us some easy-to-do tips, and I think his experience being an FBI member. Are we hacked already?
Presentation here. Oh my God.
My topic is, that's it. Wow, this is bright. Cybersecurity, and I propose that we cut the topic into 3 parts: connectivity, collaboration, and critical security controls. And this is my plan. About 3 minutes for introduction, connectivity 5, 3 minutes collaboration, CSC 6 minutes, and if we have time, I'd like to talk a little about the Cold War in cyberspace with China. That's my face on LinkedIn. There are many Mel Velarde, so please remember that face. I was with UNESCO for 9 years. Truth that in 2009, when I sold my company for a one-time transaction, certain firms, my holding firm, was awarded a top taxpayer. Now corporation is listed in the Philippine Stock Exchange. It has a telecom and mobile cellular license, and ticker name NOW. Apart from government, we have blue chip companies like banks, conglomerates, SMEs. And what are our businesses? 3 things: IT services, including software maintenance, IT consultancy, and professional services, and recently broadband connectivity and multimedia services. Here are our customers. These are their logos. If you are one of them, I want to tell you, it's been a business doing pleasure with you. Now, 2 weeks ago, I had a delegation from Bangladesh that the Prime Minister sent to the Philippines, and cybersecurity was their interest. So after the lecture, the minister representative from Ministry of Finance, from the Prime Minister's office, the whole group who are in charge of ICT. And the first question they asked was, what do you think about the hacking that happened in Bangladesh? And I said, expect that it will happen again. I think that is my message to all of us, that none of us here is invulnerable to some kind of hacking or cybercrime offenses or security breach. None of us. It's just a question of whether you are more attractive than I am to be hacked and how much damage can be incurred. You cannot escape. You are a candidate, I assure you. So here, the Philippines, we have enabling laws against that, and there are 4 that I see here for creation of the Cybercrime Prevention Act. You have the Republic Act, creation of the National Privacy Commission. You have an EO that created the interagency. And recently, President Aquino signed the creation of the Department of Information and Communications Technology. What is important, though, is that there are some countries and some states that are more mature, and they know exactly how to deal with offenses in cybersecurity. And I want to raise this because the state of California is quite ahead of other states in the US, in fact, ahead of many countries around the world. And her name, Kamala Harris, she said that an organization cannot protect people's privacy without being able to secure the data from unauthorized access. To protect privacy, there are 3 points. Must have a privacy policy, consumers must be informed of material changes, and carefully select their default settings. Now, the state of California has the statistics. I don't have the statistics in the Philippines because there is no law right now that requires any kind of breaches or any kind of breach must be reported to the government within 24 hours. We don't have that. But in California, anytime there's a breach that concerns about 500 or more Californians, the report must be made. Now, from 2012 to 2015, 49 million records of Californians have been breached. 3 out of 5 Californians were victims of data breach. That's 60%. Well, recently, with the breach in Comelec, 50 million voters. Out of 50 million voters, data have been breached. So we have 100% in the Philippines as far as that alone. So where are the breaches coming from? Retailers, 25 of breaches, 42% of records. Banks, 18, 26% of records. Healthcare, 16% of records. How are breaches happening? What are the types of breaches? 54% malware and hacking. Physical breaches, they are able to get hold of your computer. And this one is the most dangerous, although it's 17% in California, but this is the most dangerous because we need some security controls with our own governments. It cannot just be because of error, we were breached. Businesses and government agencies have been required to notify the Attorney General, and I talked to you about this, 500 Californians or more. But more importantly, they're required to do reasonable security. And here's the point. We have to define what is reasonable security. It has to be qualitative and quantitative. Oops. This is what happens with an attack. 3 things that they get into your system. Either you download an email and the attachment is inside your hardware and he is there. He got in. The next step is he stays there. He's doing reconnaissance. He's waiting for you to do certain acts that may be valuable to them. Your computer is an authorized computer that could access the financial records of your company, so they are already considered an authorized user. So once they're in, they'll do the third one. They will act. That means they will attack. How long were they in before they got an attack? Or they'll do an attack? We don't know. It could take months, 3 years, 6 years. You'll know. You don't know. And the worst thing is you don't know that they're there. So, this has been so a sophisticated kind of defense that we need. There was a suggestion that the armed forces of the United States should add a 6th branch, which is cyber security. That's the kind of profile of the guy you would be recruiting for cyber security or cyber defense. But seriously, even NATO last Tuesday alone has already approved the inclusion of cyberspace as a war domain along air, land, and sea. And that is to beef up their defenses of their computer networks. This was last Tuesday. Well, let's look at connectivity. Try to go to shodan.io. You will see all the IP addresses. Not all. Many of the IP addresses of big companies. Big companies. Yours could be there. I just put XX there because I don't want to expose the IP addresses. But if you Google them right now or go to their site, unfortunately, some of our own companies do not watch. They even advertise their IP addresses. And what happens? Hackers look for IP addresses. But if you don't know the IP addresses, you can't hack. If you're not seeing, you can't be hacked. At least for that particular opening of hacking. Now, what we do as Now Corporation, we help certain companies to do that one weak opening, which is the visibility in the network. We have some cloaking devices that allow us to hide you from the public telecommunication system. Now, the benefit for that is that you were able to secure and hide your communications between your trusted devices. We segment your networks, we extend your networks, and if you have legacy systems that do not have security controls built into those devices, by hiding them, they cannot be seen, of course, and they should not be hacked. Now, imagine there are 8 billion devices in the world today. Once you are connected to the public telecommunications network, you are a candidate for hacking, especially if you're a big firm Or just for example, there are some entities that just want to destroy your reputation. Who knows, they may be sending an email to your regulator and cursing your regulator, but they're using your email addresses. Now, what are we doing? Now, corporation has been building the past 4 months, and we just recently launched our own broadband network for private network, private connection. If you were to connect banks, it's all yours. And if you need your own exclusive lane to the internet, it's there. But if you also want a public network, we're delivering up to 700 megabit per second. Our customers are banks, schools, primarily buildings. This is fiber in the air. This is 700 megabit bandwidth with that throughput of 700 megabit, with a CIR of 700 megabit. We're building this fiber optic for Metro Manila alone. This is our plan for next year. That was Northern Luzon, Southern Luzon. In the next 3 years, we'll be building Visayas and Mindanao, a fiber optic network. Now, on collaboration. When attacks are done, the first targets would be this: your emails, your documents, your files, your content, product inventory, financial report. If you have medical records, if you're chatting, if you're online meeting, your payment credit card. That is the most visible target. This is CEO fraud. Somebody uses email, and he was being emailed. An email from the CEO has been received by the finance department to send $38 million to their supplier in China. And what did the accounting department do? They paid that bogus entity in China. Why? Because the sender of the email is thought to be a legitimate CEO, but it was an impersonator. Now, if you cannot define or defend and protect your own security systems, then you might as well deal with the entities that integrate this for you. So we deliver social networking, documents, files, system, chatting, all of this collaboration tools to big companies in the Philippines, one of which is BDO. They have 24,000 licenses and the attached services that we're giving to them. We're just taking care of their collaboration. And this is what happens on their desktop. They see the faces of the person who's sending, and they have certain security controls on who is sending what message. Also, we protect their mobile communications. And what does that do? When collaboration is secure, you're able to empower people, engage people, and they're willing to engage with you and trust you. And you can extend the technology even to all kinds of devices. And that was our partnership with IBM, and we're the #1 collaboration partner in the Philippines. The third, and which is most important, I mentioned to you a while ago, reasonable security. What does that mean? When your board of directors tell you, okay, we're trying to approve your 2 billion peso budget, and they will ask you, why is this the right plan? You tell them, sir, ma'am, that is what the reasonable security entails as defined by the state of California. There are 20 security controls as prescribed by the Center of Internet Security's Council, CIS of the United States, and we sent our people there. I myself as a CEO has to attend this because I have to explain this to CEOs like you, what this thing entails and the value of doing that. And these are the 20 critical security controls. If you're our customer, we work with you to go through that, to design that, and it takes about 3 to 5 years. For the meantime, all of us are vulnerable. Look at what happened to Bit9. They are a certificate grant, and they have an encryption. A malware even entered their encryption code, and the malware was able to provide certificates for devices that are not supposed to be authorized. And this falls on that particular critical control number 1, which is to create an inventory to control and monitor all authorized devices in your network. If I ask you, a CIO today, how many devices are connected to your network right now, together with those who access via Wi-Fi, together with those who accessed via LAN, also the malware that was decompressed from an attachment from an email, would you know that? So these are case studies, and these 20 security controls have already plotted exactly what to do. And they're like, I heard the word Bible a while ago, this is like the Bible of CIOs. What are the 7 things to do when you encounter that particular situation, which is the number 1, a compromise on the authorized devices linked on the system. I think you will have a copy of this, but this has to be real time. If one device got connected to your system, then there should be an alert to notify you. Facebook was also compromised. So don't be pretentious that you're not you're good enough to and you are invulnerable to hacking. Even Facebook had a problem. I used their own page because they say, well, we had a compromise. Our developers went to a website which is for developers. And you know, when you go to a website developer's site, what do you see there? You have tools, you have patches, you have SDKs, and sometimes you need that particular SDK or a patch, you download it, but it got stored in your system, and then that's your same computer that you use for production. Of course, Facebook said, we have found no evidence that Facebook user data was compromised. That's another breach case. What happened there? They visited the mobile developer website hosting an Oracle Java exploit. Again, you have 4 things to do. And one of which is whatever you download, put them in a laboratory and then test them before it gets to join your production server or whatever development you're doing. Well, my last piece, am I on time? Am I on time? Well, I am like an ally of Secretary Alunan here on this issue. One of our leaders is Justice Antonio Carpio. I added a map behind my picture a while ago because just to distinguish myself from Mike Velarde, the evangelist. I am Mel Velarde, who owns the Murillo-Velarde map that was used as evidence against China because those rocks that were drawn almost 300 years ago show that we own those rocks. Those are the Panakot and Spratly. And I'm concerned about the cyberspace. And they're saying, this West Philippine Sea might lead to a war. Well, the war has already started. It's the cyber war. They're everywhere. As if you listen attentively to Secretary Rafi, they're all over. But just last December, they launched the most powerful satellite. It's a geosatellite, which is 22,500 miles above the equator. So when the Earth moves, the satellite moves. It's not the LEO satellite that moves faster than the Earth, but they can measure accurately every moving object, whether airplanes or cars or person, air, land, even underwater. So there is a relation between these ADIs that Secretary Rafi was talking about in terms of the response system that the Chinese may have to accomplish. Now, if you are in technology and you have sensitive data against your neighbors, then you might as well use a satellite whose footprint is focused on the Philippines. And one satellite provider has been telling us, Mel, just use this. There won't be eavesdropping. Of course, that is not guaranteed. Well, I think I'm finished with my 20 minutes. Thank you very much.